All right, this is section 8-3 on inequalities. First of all, inequalities are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Those are inequalities. Let's go ahead and start with example 1. Example 1 says your age is less than 6 years. So age less than 6 years. That would be a good start. That's example A. Letter B says your speed is greater than 35 miles per hour. So if you're just writing inequalities, which it tells you to do, that's all you're doing on this. So that's pretty simple. Let's go to example 2. Example 2 says a student must have at least 10 hours of instructor-assisted driving time. Write inequality to describe this situation. So a student must have at least. Well, if you're saying at least, that's not a less than sign. So a student must have, where they have H in the book actually, H for hours, must have at least. So if you are at least, you have to be greater than or equal to 10 hours of instruction time. So one or the other, S or H, greater than or equal to 10. So that's an important one to know. At least means greater than or equal to. So don't let that trick you. And then no more than means less than or equal to. So make sure you know both of those. Let's go to example 3. Letter A says S minus 7 less than 5, and then it tells you S equals 14. So what they're wanting you to do here is, for the given value, state whether the inequality is true or false. This is really simple, guys. All you're doing is plugging in the number that they give you and tell whether it's correct, which would be true, or not correct, which would be false. So my work would be to say 14 minus 7 is less than 5. 14 minus 7 is 7. Is 7 less than 5? I put a slash through it. No. Or I should have wrote false, I guess. Alright, that is example 3A. Here, B has 12 greater than or equal to A over 2 plus 2, and then it tells you that A equals 20. So plug in the 20 and see if this is true or false. 12 greater than or equal to 20 over 2 plus 2. 20 over 2 is 10. 20 divided by 2, 10. Write everything else down. 10 plus 2 is 12. Is 12 greater than or equal to 12? The answer is yes, so this is true. And that is example 3B. Let's go to example 4. Example 4 wants you to graph each inequality on a number line. So example A is x is greater than 4. So there's a lot of different ways we could graph this. The book is going to show it differently than I want you to. I always want to see where 0 is at. So I put a 0 on there, and then I always make sure that I graph the number that they're giving, which is 4. So x is greater than 4. How I would graph that is an open circle on 4, and since it's greater than, notice that's pointing to the right side. I shade the right side, and I even shade the arrow. And that's how I show x is greater than 4. Here is B. B says x is greater than or equal to 4. Well, on this one, we basically have the same thing. Always graph where 0 is at. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you don't always have to go by one dash there, because sometimes you might have a really big number, so you want to scale it by 2s or 3s or 5s or 10s or hundreds, something like that. But in this case, we again go to the 4. In this case, this is a greater than or equal to part. So when it says or equal to, you've got to close in the 4. And then it still says greater than. So that's pointing to the right. Everything greater than 4. I'm shading everything to the right side. So as you can see, greater than or equal to 4, I'm including the 4 in it. But in letter A, it's just greater than 4. So that's why it's just an open circle. You're not really including the 4, you're saying everything bigger than it. Alright, let's try C and D. C is x is less than 4, and D is x is less than or equal to 4. Graph these. There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Since it's just less than, it's an open circle, and it's everything less than. And notice it's also pointing to the left, so I shade everything left of 4. There's my answer. And for D, it's less than or equal to 4, 2, 3, 4. So because it's less than or equal to it, I close it in, and I shade everything again to the left because it says less than or equal to. And that's how I show how to shade those. Alright, so basically a little recap here. Greater than or less than uses an open circle. Greater than or equal to or less than or equal to uses a closed circle. So that's important to know. Let's go to example 5. Example 5 says write the inequality for the graph. And the graph that they're giving you, and it shows it kind of different, but they have a 10 here. It's an open circle, and it's everything shaded to the right. So, since it's an open circle, and it doesn't matter what letter you use, I'm just going to use X. It's a normal number or letter to use. So X is, and it's everything greater than 10, but it's not equal to 10 because of the open circle. So your answer would be X is greater than 10. So that's a pretty simple one and pretty simple section. And that is all. Good luck.